All right. So, Ant-Man. Not Marvel's best. Let's just get that out of the way. That is still, in my opinion, unequivocally either Captain America 2, Winter Soldier, or Iron Man 1 or 3. I can't really make up my mind. Probably Cap 2, though. But this is really good. Like, this is so much more watchable than the Thor movies or Incredible Hulk, which, they weren't exactly bad, but they just really weren't overwhelmingly awesome. And this one is more awesome than it's underwhelmingly unawesome. I don't know. I have yet to really, truly hate a Marvel movie, and that's something. But at the same time, I'm really not in a hurry to ever see again Iron Man 2, either Thor movie or The Incredible Hulk. I could really, actually, if I never saw any of those again, I'd be perfectly happy. I would feel like I was not missing anything in life. But with that said, this movie's good. Like, if I was to rank the 12 Marvel movies, this would probably be like 6, 7, so that's something. But that's enough comparing this to the other Marvel movies. It's a weird little number, and I mean, what else did we expect to be? It's about a man who can shrink down to the size of an ant. So it's obviously going to be weird, but it's unusual in the Marvel sense in that it's a heist movie, which kind of caught me off guard. I probably should have seen it coming, consider the trailers. It's talking about how Scott Lang, the man who is Ant-Man, played by Paul Rudd, is a thief. He was just getting out of jail, and he has the history of being a thief, and he's trying to turn his life around. He doesn't want to break into places and steal stuff anymore, but the Hank Pym, played by Michael Douglas, wants him to break into places and steal stuff again, which is still a great line, and it changes a little bit, so it's not the exact same line in the movie. I think it's a little funnier in the movie, but that's just me. It's still a good moment, and this is, I don't want to sound overwhelmingly negative, because I did like this movie, especially, I felt it got better the further it went, because a lot of the characters were very conventional. A lot of, like, the motivations and why they were doing things, and the interactions they were having with each other, and backstories were, I don't want to say cliche, but, they were fairly cliched, and not really to the point where it's unwatchable, but they're cliched enough that it kind of I kind of disengaged a little bit. Like, I wasn't, like, on my phone or anything like that. No, fuck no. I texted my girlfriend once, because a smiley face, because she texted me, but that's it. That was like 30 seconds. Whatever, you want to hate me, go ahead and hate me. I texted my girlfriend a smiley face during a movie, whatever. But the fact that I did disengage isn't really a good sign, and it's what kind of keeps it at that, that 6th or 7th out of 12, like, if we're going to rank the movies from the Marvel movies from 1 to 12. The characters they're like, okay, Scott Lang himself is a fine character. Paul Rudd is infinitely likable. I honestly think you can hand that man any character, and he can make any character likable, because he's just that talented, and he's aging incredibly well. Holy crap, man. Get a wrinkle on your face, for God's sakes. But you're a very talented actor. You're very funny. And you really nailed this character. I even by the standard of me just calling you a very good actor, you still impressed me very much here. And because it was playing against your type. The character is still likable, and, he's trying to turn his life around, and he has his loving daughter, and he wants to be a good role model for her. He wants to be a good influence. But, at the same time, life is always, handing him, shit. And he's, he makes a poor choice here or there. But then you get to his family, and the daughter's fine. She's appropriately adorable, as all little children are supposed to be. and she's loves her father and thinks he's a hero and blah 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 blah. That's all fine, but his wife is just so unlikable. Like the one scene that she has with Scott Lang, she's basically just yelling at him about child support. And just to put this into perspective for you, Scott Lang just got out of prison and he's barely able to find a job, and she is upper middle class white lady living in a very nice and very expensive looking house in San Francisco, a very expensive city to live in, with her very well off husband who is a cop or a detective. So, you know, I mean, they're not millionaires, but they are more than well off. You know, not getting child support from Scott isn't going to be the difference between, you know, keeping the lights on or keeping food on the table. But she infinitely bitches at him about not paying child support. Now, I know that we're not supposed to like this character right away. Or, I mean, are we even supposed to like the character? I mean, I'm sorry, but yes. Just for the record, I was raised by a single mother, and I experienced, my mom having issues with things and, needing help with child support and stuff growing up, and that's all fine. Mommy, I love you. You were a great mommy, and I love you, Mommy. But if you're out of work, just out of jail, and this is the first time you're seeing your ex-husband, and you yourself are not strapped for cash, and you're well off living in a big, beautiful house that probably was ridiculously expensive. Writers, come up with something else for this character to complain about. Like, he just got out of jail. Focus on that. Ignore the child support thing. Just have him be like, yo, I don't want you around my kid because you just got out of jail. I don't care if she loves you and worships the ground you walk upon. You just got out of jail. Until you can prove to me that you're better than a guy that just got out of jail, stay away from my daughter. That is a perfectly legitimate conversation for a mother to have with her ex-husband in regards to their child. Don't focus on the child's... I'm ranting now, but like, she was just an unlikable shrew. And that's a problem with your movie, because... I mean, she's not a huge part of it, but then you have her, her cop fiancé, her new husband. I think it was a fiancé. And he's just a dick. Like, he's also bitching about the child support and, like, just assuming the worst of Scott. And, I mean, I'm just sorry, but, yeah, they kind of come around in the end, but these are just horribly written, unlikable characters. And they are horribly, horribly, horribly cliche. Can Marvel really not get writers that can come up with better characters than that? I mean, this is a multi-billion-dollar franchise we're talking about here, and you just have to resort to these kinds of cliches? And it's not just them. There's Hank Pym, who was the original Ant-Man, who is passing along the mantle of Ant-Man to Paul Rudd in this movie. And he and his daughter have this, like, contentious thing about how Hank Pym, won't let his daughter, what's her name? Hope. Hank Pym won't let his daughter, Hope, be the new Ant-Man because he's her daughter, and despite the fact that she is perfectly more than capable, she knows how to work everything, and there being no real reason outside of he doesn't want to lose his daughter to stop him from letting her do this, he won't let her do it. And it makes a contentious relationship for these two characters, and they've got to resolve it by the end of the movie. And again, it's just cliche. I mean, based on that description, if you've seen a movie before, you can probably guess how these two's relationship ends once the credits roll. I don't understand why Marvel has to resort to these such rudimentary base storylines. Especially when you're doing something so fucking weird and out there like Ant-Man. Like, oh my god, when this movie was allowed to, like, go off the rails and be weird as a movie about a man who shrinks down to the size of an ant and has basically telepathic control over ants, When the movie's allowed to get as weird as all of that is, it is awesome. Like, oh my god, the final fight is so cool. It is so cool. It's so weird and so silly and just so much fun. But there's just also so much just safe by the numbers. Lame. There's a lot of parts of this movie that are lame. There's also a lot of parts of this movie that are awesome. Like I just said, the final fight is really good. For the most part, the visual effects were really good. Everything to do with the shrinking and the perspective of being that big all of that was handled awesome. Like, seeing the world from that angle was very fun and very unique, especially with the final fight, again, where it's like, they're constantly, like, they're normal size, they're tiny, they're normal size, they're tiny, they're normal size, they're tiny. It's awesome. It is so much fun. It is so much different than most other things that we've ever seen. I really, like, imagine if Honey, I Shrunk the Kids had a big, epic fight scene in its third act that revolved around everybody constantly shrinking and growing back up again, and you have the final moments of, I'm driving by someone shooting a movie right now. Hello! I'll review you one day! It's awesome. It is so cool, and it is just, I'm ranting there. And all of that was just so, the angle and the perspective was very cool. Now let's get back to my original train of thought. Now, I said most of the special effects were cool. I counted 2 shots that were not only not cool, but, oh my god, what's happening here? Fairly terrible. I didn't see this movie in 3D. I actively try and avoid seeing things in 3D whenever humanly possible. I wonder if this is part of the movie set. I might need to back up and go a different direction here. But there were 2 shots that... Have you ever gone to a 3D movie and then for a second, like, taken your glasses off to, like... just because you're, like, scratching your eyes, or you're just curious for a second, so you take your glasses off just to see what everything looks like, and you see the things happening on the screen, and that weird blur, that fuzziness, that is the 3D image without the 3D glasses allowing you to see it in the 3D. I hope I'm describing it well if you've never experienced this, or if you ever, next time you go see a 3D movie, just take your glasses off for a second when there's obviously 3D things happening on the screen, and you'll see what I mean. But again, I didn't see this movie in 3D, and there were 2 shots in this movie that looked like I was suddenly watching a 3D movie without my 3D glasses on. And it was weird, and it sort of hurt my eyes, and I haven't really seen something like that since How to Train Your Dragon. When I saw that in theaters, a couple of the torches and fire pits, so when I would take a look at them, they would be weird and fuzzy and kind of hurt my eyes. And I'm not saying it has something to do with the 3D conversion affecting it, because I mean, that doesn't even make sense, because I'm not seeing it in 3D, but it's weird. Like, why am I experiencing this movie for a second as if I'm watching a 3D movie without my 3D glasses on? And more importantly, why is this, I'm guessing at least $100 million, if not more, budget movie having shots in it that are that bad and just they came across unfinished? It was a very, very weird, very jarring thing to have to see. And I mean, maybe it was just me. Maybe, I just got off work, maybe I was tired, I don't know, but it was jarring and weird. And when a movie costs as much money as this movie costs, its visual effects should A, look better than that, and B, oh my god, this isn't... Okay, so I just drove by and around a movie set with, like, lots of very cool old school cars, like 1940s, 1950s, things like that. So they're always shooting things up here in Altadena. Actually, in fact, I wish I had done something with this before they torn it down, but I missed that they were tearing it down. But there's a gas station it's not there anymore. That used to be not too far away from where I live. And all these movies used to shoot things there, like Transformers, the original one, the scene with Bernie Mac when Shia LaBeouf is buying is buying Bumblebee. That was shot at a gas station very near my house. Dodgeball, the car wash scene was shot at that same gas station, not too far from my house. I can't think of any others right now, but if I was able to find it online, it's been in a bunch of different movies. I've always seen it more than that, but they tore it down and put up a fucking office building. Meh. That's all I have to say about that. But yeah, no, I just drove by another movie set with lots of cool cars in it. So that's fun. But Ant-Man. Good. For the most part, good visual effects, but there was a couple that made it feel like they rushed the movie out and they weren't done yet. We'll see if other people complain about that or if it's just me. What else? I mean, like, the cast is good. Michael Douglas is always good. Like, Michael Douglas is one of those actors that I would watch read the phone book and I'd probably be amused. Evangeline Lilly, who I always kind of liked on Lost, and then was fucking useless beyond compare in the Hobbit movies. It was nice seeing her being in a role in a movie that actually had some weight behind it. That, like, playing a character that actually, you know, had importance to what was going on. Like, Jesus Christ was, what's her name in The Hobbit, just useless. It was nice to see her not be useless. And then the villain, though. I don't even know his name. I think it was Dorian or Darian or Darren or Cross or Crass or something. Like, and this is another just criticism of Marvel. Get better villains. Like, holy crap. Why is this such a struggle for you guys? Like, seriously. You've had 12 movies now. And of those 12 movies, there's really only 3-ish memorable villains. This shouldn't be a complicated thing. Like, your heroes need... like, the drama comes from conflict. And your story is only as good as the drama it is generating. And the drama it's generating is only as good as the conflict in the story. And if the antagonist is weak, then your conflict is weak, and then your drama is weak. I mean, it's basic screenwriting 101. 3 out of 12 movies. Well, that's not okay. I mean, like, Loki was in a couple of them, but I mean, like, holy crap! Like, this is I'm gonna go ahead and say it. This guy, Captain, I can't remember his name exactly, is the worst of the weak, lame Marvel villains we've had so far. And you know, I'm just getting ranty again. Like, why is it so hard for you guys to have decent villains? That's like the one thing that DC, like, definitely has over you at the big screen right now, is their villains are significantly more interesting than yours. That's why they're doing Suicide Squad. It's actually one of the few legitimately smart things that DC is doing. They're like, hey, what do we have that Marvel doesn't have? Good villains. Okay, let's do a movie that's entirely these awesome villains. And you know what, DC? Good job. That is exactly what you need to be doing in this situation. You need to be seeing what Marvel's weaknesses are and then playing off of them. Doing the opposite. You know, Zod was a very cool part of Man of Steel. He was one of the better parts of Man of Steel. Keep it up. Hopefully the Joker is awesome. Hopefully Batman's motivation in Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice is enough to make him a decent antagonist. If he is going to be the antagonist. We'll see. Excuse me, by the way. And then hopefully Lex Luthor will be interesting. I think Jesse Eisenberg is a cool gamble for Lex Luthor. I really do. I'm behind that choice 100%. I really truly want to see what he's going to do with this character. I hope that the writing is there to support his acting. Please let the writing be there to support his acting. Because what's his face in this movie? The actor was fine. The actors are rarely bad that play the villains in the Marvel movies. But the characters themselves are just not interesting. Like Ronan I almost said the Destroyer, the Accuser, in fucking Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, holy crap. That guy could not have been less interesting. I don't think it's physically possible for Ronan the Accuser to have been less interesting. Like, you guys could have actually sat down in your production meetings and go, okay, how can we make Ronan the Accuser just lame, pathetic, and unthreatening? And he still would have been a better villain than the one that you turned out in Guardians of the Galaxy. And that's not a knock on James Gunn, because that's a knock on Marvel in general. Because again, the only interesting villains that they've had so far out of their 12 movies are Loki and Thor the Dark World, or I mean, it's kind of an anti-hero there, and then in Avengers. So it's one villain. In those 3 movies, you have Loki, and then there's the Winter Soldier, and then I'll argue Ultron. Ultron wasn't as amazing as I was hoping he would be, but he's still pretty, like he was better than most of the other Marvel villains. So I'll vote for those 3 to be good and the rest to just not be good. And again, that's not good, guys. I know you guys are making money by the bucket loads, and you're scared of changing your formula, which is why so many of your movies have revolved around MacGuffins. You guys have a thing that's working for you, and why fix what's not broke? I completely 100% get it. I really, truly do. But at the same time, you do need to mix it up a little bit. Because otherwise, your franchise is going to buckle under its own cliches and collapse horribly. You can call me a Debbie Downer, you can call me a hater, call me whatever you want, but the fact remains is if Marvel doesn't, start switching things up a little bit, it's just not going to keep working. And this is good. Ant-Man was it's a heist movie. That's good. That is awesome. Yay. Not saying that they all need to be heist movies, but switch it up. Like part of the reason that Winter Soldier is one of the best Marvel movie, or if not the best Marvel movie, is because it's a political thriller drama spy thing. That's cool. For a superhero thing, that is very cool. And yeah, like I mentioned about MacGuffins, do you guys just is it part of the contract for the writers? I can't even think of a Marvel movie off the top of my head right now that hasn't had a MacGuffin. Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3 for the most... Iron Man 3 actually might be the only Marvel movie that doesn't rely heavily on a MacGuffin. And if you don't know, a MacGuffin is an object or a person that the acquiring of or the finding of this object or person is the main driving force of the plot, while not really having much to do with the overall story. The arc reactor in the Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 1, the cure for Tony Stark's arc reactor poisoning in Iron Man 2, the cosmic cube in Captain America, and then in the first Avengers movie, adamantium in the staff in Avengers 2, the sphere thing in Guardians of the Galaxy, the cure for the Hulk in the Incredible Hulk, in Thor, the hammer, in Thor 2, the ether, and what am I forgetting? I'm forgetting one. Oh, and Captain America, the jump drive. So, Captain America 2. Captain America 2 has the jump drive, but that's okay. So, Captain America 2 and Iron Man 3 are the only ones that really don't have MacGuffins in them. And Iron Man 3 kind of has it with the Extremis, but they're not really trying to find it. They already have it. So, okay, no. Iron Man 3 and Captain America 2. 2 out of your 10 movies don't use MacGuffins. Oh, and then in Ant-Man, they're trying to get the suit. 2 out of your 10 movies haven't used MacGuffins. And out of your 10 movies, you've now had only 3 villains that are interesting. You guys can argue against me that Marvel doesn't need to change, but the stats aren't looking good. Again, I did like this movie, though. It was fun, it was silly, it was weird, when it was allowed to be what it was meant to be. And when it wasn't being forced to be weirdly conventional and uninteresting and cliched. So, it's 60% of a great movie. I know that makes it sound like it's a D, but if I was to give it, oh god, I don't want to give it a letter grade. I don't want to. If I was to rank it the way that I rank things, it is 12 out of 19 Iron Man 3s. And if you have an issue with me liking Iron Man 3, I say that if you don't see the value of a movie about a Middle Eastern warlord evil guy thingy being used as a scapegoat to cause conflict and generate war and unpleasantness in order for a rich guy to get even richer, you should probably not watch this show, because we're not going to see eye to eye on a lot of things. And now that I've insulted half of my fan base and I've made it clear that I do like Ant-Man, I'm just worried about Marvel's future because I feel like they're getting into too much of a rut that they're digging themselves into unnecessarily. I'm going to say peace.